All right. I don't know. I don't want to put Bill Walterscheid or anybody on the spot. Does anybody want to do a quick intro and welcome everybody, and then we'll get into the content for today?
Hi, good morning. Bill Walterscheid here at Department of Transportation and Public Works. We're really excited. We're going to roll out the electronic plan review Monday, the 13th. And I have Seth Axlam on here from ePermit Hub, who's going to give a presentation on the digital plan room. So, Seth, take it away.
That sounds great, Bill. Thank you very much. Like Bill said, my name is Seth. I am a part of the team that worked here with the county to get the digital plan review technology set up and ready for us to use. And we're extremely excited to turn it on and begin using it this coming Monday, February 13th. In terms of what we're going to cover this morning, we are going to walk you through each step in the overall permitting process where you are going to potentially interact with the digital plan review process. So we're going to hit every single touch point so that you have the resources available to be successful in collaborating and participating in that plan review process. So we're going to kick things off with walking through the initial submission of an application and getting all your documents and plans uploaded as a part of that application. We'll walk through some of the quality assurance checks that are in place that the permit processing team will walk through and provide any feedback in regards to completeness for your application submittal. So what will that communication look like? What steps do I have to take to correct any of those things so we can move forward with our application review and ultimately move forward with our plan review? Next, we're going to take a look at how plan review comments are going to be communicated with us. What do we have to do once we receive them? And how do we get our resubmittal back over to the county for review? Once plan review is complete and we're ready to move forward, we're going to take a look at some of the communications we'll receive in relation to permit issuance readiness. And then lastly, what happens once our permit's issued? How do we get our approved plans? How can we download them and receive them? And then ultimately, if we do potentially have any addendums that need to be submitted, how do I go about doing that with the new process? So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to be doing a live demo this morning of each step of the overall process. So I'm going to start out in the St. Louis County Citizen Access Portal. So I'm going to go ahead and log into the portal. And I'm going to head over, and to save a little bit of time, I already started an application and saved it. So I'm going to find that application in this list, come down here, here it is, and I'm going to resume my application. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to use a residential new building permit application. I've already filled out a good bit of the information. I'm going to walk through. I added myself as a contact, filled out my additional information, and I have already filled out all of my related um, application details, filled all of that out. And one of the key differences that you're going to experience with the changes here are that we are going to upload our documents once we've successfully submitted our application. So at this point on Citizen Access, I'm looking at the review screen that allows me to just double check the address, parcel, contact information, additional info, application details, all of that. And look, everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and click the continue application button to submit my application. Once that is done, I'm going to land on the confirmation page. And when we land on this confirmation page, we're going to see the address location that we part of our application here. And then right below it, we're going to see the permit number. And what is new is we have this button right here that says upload plans and documents. This will begin appearing when you submit applications starting on Monday. And clicking this button will go ahead and kick off the process to get our documentation submitted digitally to the county for review. So I'm going to go ahead and click that button. And we're going to end up on the screens to get this process started. Very quickly, I want to show you when we submitted our application. If for some reason you forgot to click that button, you're going to receive an email notification as soon as your application has been received by the county. And that notification is just going to be a quick reminder that one, we received your application, and two, to submit any plans and documentation, you can go ahead and click the link in that email. So clicking this link in the email will be the same as clicking the button that I just clicked directly from the Citizen Access portal. In addition, we're going to be going over several different notifications that you might receive when we're asking you to take the next steps in the process. And anytime you receive one of those notifications, I also want to point out that you're going to always see a video tutorial link in those notifications. And that video tutorial will cover much of what we're going to cover this morning together. But this video tutorial is about a 2 to 4 minute video, depending on the topic that we're covering. But it'll be a quick refresher that you can use to just get, how do I take these next steps that the county's asking me to take as we participate in the plan review process. So you get that email right away to remind you if you did not click the button. And then we also have some follow-up emails. So if we have not gotten your documents, you'll get a follow-up email the next day and the day following. Both of those emails will remind you to get your documents submitted. They'll have a link that you can click that'll take you right back into the Citizen Access portal and drop you exactly where you need to be to upload those documents. But if we have not received your documents by the third day, you'll get a notification and let you know that your application has been avoided. So if that happens, you'll just have to start up a new application and then get those documents submitted as a part of that new application. Now, once we have clicked the button, either from the application submittal or from any of the emails that we receive, we're going to land inside of what's called a review package. So a review package you can think of as just like a digital file folder or a digital envelope that we're going to upload all of our documents into. So to submit your documentation, you are going to be following a 4-step process that we will walk through to submit all of your documentation. Okay. These boxes right here, this one's currently in yellow that says information, will keep you apprised of where you are in the overall process. What have I completed and what I still have to take into account to complete. Step one, we're just looking for a brief description of the package that you're about to submit. So I'll just put my description here. Okay, and I'll go ahead and hit the continue button in the lower right-hand corner. Once I have done that, I can proceed to go ahead and upload my files. So at step 2, I can upload my files. So I have 2 options here. I can either grab the files from somewhere on my computer and just drag them onto the screen here, or I can click the browse button here and go find my documents and select them. So I can either drag and drop, click browse and select. And once I have selected my documents, they're going to be listed on the screen as such. And it's going to be up to me to go ahead and further categorize what each of these documents as it relates to this application. So this drop-down list here has many of the commonly needed items that you need to submit for your permit application review. In this case, I'm going to mark each of these as architectural plans, but you're going to go through and identify accurately what each file represents, and then provide a description to provide any further clarification that would be helpful to the team at the county in understanding what has been submitted. So I'm going to put my description here, and I'll provide another description down here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit upload, and you'll notice that the button says upload and validate. And the reason it does that is one of the things that the new process is going to do is it's just going to do a very quick check on your files to see if there's any issues that would prevent us from moving forward with any of them. So the types of checks that we're going to do are things like check for file corruption. So a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes PDFs can have issues that prevent us from opening the document or even navigating to certain portions of the document. So those files can end up getting corrupt sometimes. Additionally, sometimes folks add extra security to their documents in the form of something called encryption. A very common form of encryption happens to be putting a password on a file. And as you can imagine, if you're uploading a document you received from your engineer and there's a password on it, and that password's not available to the county staff, then we can't use those documents. So we're going to do this automated check right up front so that if there is any issues with any documents in your submittal, you can be alerted and you can go ahead and immediately take those next actions to get a good set of documents so that there is no further delay in getting your plan review started. If you have any issues, a red box will show up at the top of the screen here. That's going to show me what the issues are. So I have two files here. One happens to be corrupted. The other happens to be encrypted. The error message will tell us a little bit more about what happened. And then further, if we need any additional information, if we mouse over the question mark here, for either of them, there will be some additional tool tips that are available to you that will help clarify what issue we ran into and talk to you a little bit about a potential resolution. Any files that we upload ultimately will end up in the file list at the bottom of the screen. We'll see the file name, the description we typed in, what is the document type that we selected to further categorize what this file represents, and then the status of each file. So in this case, our files turned red, meaning that they were rejected. And we'll also notice that in the bottom right corner, the button that allows us to continue will ultimately be grayed out and not let us move forward. So if we do have any rejected files, we will have to correct that issue before we can progress with the steps 3 and the steps 4 to complete our document submission. So to correct this, I'm going to go ahead and click these little blue trash can icons to go ahead and remove these files from my review package. And then we're going to go find some files that we know do not have any issues and get those uploaded. Okay. So this time I'm going to go and bring my Finder or Windows Explorer over, and I'm going to drag it onto the screen this time. So notice I'm dragging it and dropping it. So that works in addition to just clicking the browse button right here. And if I scroll down here, I am also going to go ahead and need to categorize these documents. So these are both going to represent, actually, these are structural plans, architectural plans. This is my site plan. And these are my specifications. I'm going to go back and put my description in for each. Okay, so I have everything in here. And then over on the right-hand side, you also might notice that there is a requirements section. So this requirements section is going to go ahead and guide you through what are the type of documents that are absolutely required for this initial submission, alongside of additional documents that may be required under certain circumstances or may be required later on in the process prior to permit issuance. So this list will populate dependent on the type of application that you're submitting, as well as how you filled out that application. So this list will dynamically populate and be tailored to exactly what we're looking for based on what it is you're trying to apply for. Once we click the upload and validate buttons right here, these requirements over on the right-hand side, once they're satisfied, they will get checked off the list and moved to the bottom of the list. Anything in red is absolutely required. I will not be able to submit this review package unless I've uploaded anything in red. Everything else in yellow is a maybe. So if you don't submit one of these, the system may let you go through and submit. But if we need it from a county perspective, either at intake or down the road at plan review, we'll be coming back and communicating that with you to get that back from you. So let's go ahead and click on the upload and validate. At this point, we'll see down at the bottom here from a files perspective, they're uploading and then they're going to either turn red like we saw earlier, or they're going to turn green. And in this case, we see that we did happen to upload a couple of the definitely red requirements and one of the yellow recommended requirements. So once I have all of my documents uploaded, the next step I can take is go ahead and click this process files button. So when I do that, a box is going to pop up on the screen and start preparing your files for submittal. So what's happening here? We are going ahead and we're going to convert your plans and any supporting documents that are going to go through plan review into a web-based format that'll allow our plan reviewers to review those plans interactively and then communicate with you collaboratively to get those code issues identified, resolved, and move you on your way for permit issuance. I'm going to pull up a slide here real quickly and talk a little bit more about what is going on here as well. So when we're uploading our documents, any plans, as well as any supporting documents, so that's going to be things like calculations, specifications, engineering reports, anything that's going to go through the plan review process, we're going to need to go ahead and have you upload those as a PDF file format. So if you upload any other file format other than PDF, the system will let you know that we're expecting those to be PDF. So it'll stop you at that point and give you that reminder. But while we're doing that file processing and converting it to that web-based format, it is also taking apart any files that contain plans, and we're splitting them up into the individual sheets. And the system's using an automated process to go ahead and automatically identify sheet numbers from each page. And then we're going to use those sheet numbers to uniquely identify each sheet in the plan set. And we do this because once we get underway with our plan review, and if we need you to resubmit any corrected plan files or plan sheets, you will be able to just submit the plan sheets that have changed. So there's no need to resubmit entire sets of plans or compile a full set of plans again. We're going to look for you to just resubmit the plan sheets that have changed, and the system will automatically digitally slip sheet those into the overall plan review, and we'll be versioning your plans at the sheet level. Now, we're going to need some help from you in terms of making sure that the system can accurately identify sheet numbers for you. So there's going to be a couple of recommendations we make that will help the system automatically identify those sheet numbers at a high degree of accuracy. The number one way to ensure that your sheet numbers are identified are to include a table of contents on the PDF file itself. So when I refer to a table of contents, I'm not talking about the sheet index that may display visually on the cover sheet. I'm talking about the PDF file itself, including a table of contents. Many of the common design software platforms out there that you all might be using, when you go through the process to export your plans out to a PDF so you can upload them to us, one of the options that you'll be presented with as a part of that is to include bookmarks as a part of that export. And bookmarks will essentially translate into the PDF as a table of contents. I have a screenshot of what a table of contents looks like kind of over here to the right. And there, what you're going to see is that table of contents includes the sheet number followed by a sheet title. So including a table of contents will be the number one way to have accurate sheet numbers extracted from your plans, and it will expedite your ability to get things submitted quickly and accurately. If your plans happen to not use a alphanumeric sheet number convention and you numerically number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then we highly, highly recommend that you use a table of contents to make sure that the system can identify those sheet numbers. Have a couple of other ways we identify sheet numbers by looking at the title block, things like page labels, things like that. But when we're doing that, we're analyzing all the text in the title block and trying to identify the sheet number from there. So we can certainly find standard sheet numbering patterns that might start with a letter followed by a number, things like that. So some of the more standard construction standard based sheet numbering patterns. But if it's a single number, it's much harder for the system to identify that accurately. So if you do use numeric only sheets, we definitely recommend that you include a table of contents. And when you do set up the table of contents, set it up such that the sheet number comes first, followed by the sheet title. We're going to reiterate a point here in a moment, but I'm going to highlight this final bullet down here as well. Since the system is going to automatically version your sheets using the sheet number as that unique identifier, we strongly encourage you to not change any sheet numbers for resubmittals. Okay, so that file processing step typically takes about 30 seconds for the average project. Sometimes it might be a little bit quicker for a very small submittal. Sometimes it might be a little bit longer if you have a much larger submittal. Maybe you have 30, 40, 50 documents that you're uploading all at once. Maybe some of your plans are hundreds or even thousands of pages. That might be a little bit more than 30 seconds. And such, you can wait for the processing to complete, or you will receive an action required email notification letting you know that there is a next step that you have to take before your package is fully submitted. So just because you've uploaded your documents at this point does not mean that your package has yet been submitted. So at this point, I can read this email. Again, whenever possible, we're going to provide you a link to take you right back into the system where we need you to complete. And then we also have a video tutorial outlining how you take that next step in addition to. So I'm going to click this link this time and we'll see what happens here. Takes me right back into the system and I land on step 3. So step 1, where we put our description in, step 2, where we uploaded our documents and made sure there was no issue with those documents, and then we proceeded with file processing, is now complete. Step 3 is going to show us the results of that automated sheet numbering that we just discussed. And we can validate and make sure everything looks good before we officially submit it for review. Now, if we land on this page and we see an error message at the top, that's going to alert us to the fact that maybe there's a page or two that doesn't have a sheet number, or maybe the system found duplicate sheet numbers. So let's take a look. As I scroll down here, we see the very first one, which happens to be my site plan, is missing a sheet number. Each sheet that was extracted from your plan files is going to be represented on a separate row here. So I have 16 sheets that were found, and those were found across 4 different files containing plans. When you're submitting your plans, you do not have to combine all plans into the same file. The system can accept multiple multi-page PDFs as input for the overall process. We just ask you that you do not combine plan files alongside of any supporting documentation. Those have to be uploaded as separate files. Now, I only have about 16 sheets, so it's pretty quick for me to be able to scroll through and review everything. But let's say my error message at the top told me that there was a number of sheet numbering issues that I had to review. Over on the right-hand side, there's a toggle that I can turn on, and this is going to show me any sheets where we had trouble with sheet numbers. Now, for me to be able to go ahead and get past this step, I need to review all the sheets for accuracy, make sure they're labeled correctly. If there's any missing a sheet number, I can provide the correct sheet number for that page. And optionally, I can provide a title for that page. Once I've corrected any that were tagged in error, I can either toggle off this filter that said show only error sheets, or I can click the show all sheets button at the lower right. I'm going to have to do one or the other if I want to go ahead and continue. So if I'm looking and reviewing each row at each sheet, we're going to see that there is a column that shows me a thumbnail preview of the title block, and then another column that shows me a thumbnail preview of the overall sheet. I can click on either one of these. And once I do, a viewer is going to come up on the screen. And I can just go double check if I need to and take a closer look if I can't see it from the thumbnail. And I can validate that this happens to be A101, and then I can move forward. Now there's 2 criteria that need to be satisfied for me to move from step 3 to step 4 and move forward and complete my application. First, every sheet has to have a sheet number identified. So if the system was unable to identify a sheet number, in this case, if I zoom in down here at the bottom, this happens to be a plot plan, and plot plan typically doesn't have a sheet number. So the system was not able to identify one. So I just labeled it as my site plan. The other criteria that has to be satisfied is we cannot accept any duplicate sheet numbers inside of the same submittal. So if 2 of these happen to be labeled with the same sheet number, they'll both be highlighted in red. I'll have a message at the top that lets me know that sheet A101 has been assigned 2 times. And if I go all the way down to the bottom, I won't be able to move forward. All right, so next, I'm going to turn on my filter to just show me the sheets having issues again. Now I take a look. I can certainly open up one of the sheets if I need to take a closer look. And I realize that happens to be sheet A102. And I can go ahead and make that correction. And then from there, again, it's going to ask me just to show all sheets before I continue. I'm going to toggle all the sheets back on. And now I'm going to confirm that everything looks pretty good. I'm ready to move forward. I'll click the continue button. And step 3 is now complete. We move on to step 4. Step 4 is a review step, very similar to submitting your application. At the review step, I can review the description I entered in step one. I can review any of the requirements that were either satisfied or remain unsatisfied. And if I make, if I realize that, oh, I need to add one of those optional ones, I can go back and click the edit button. And that'll take me back to step two to upload that particular document. And then down at the bottom here is the list of files that are going to be included in this review package that gets sent for review to the permit processing and the clerk's team. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the finish button here. And once I do, I will get a green success message indicating that my review package has been submitted. The county staff will be notified on their end that your review package has been received. And then the next steps will take place from the county staff to review both your application and your documentation for completeness. And if they happen to find anything that is incomplete or any feedback that they need from you before we can start the rest of your application review and ultimately your plan review, at that point, you're going to go ahead and receive another email from the county, and that email is going to look like this. So you may receive an email that indicates your particular application requires additional information. At the top of your email, it's going to have the address, the permit number, and down here, there's going to be comments that were entered in by the intake staff of whatever it is that you might have to provide to get that complete application status and move forward. Okay, so there will be a link to take you back into Citizen Access as well as that video tutorial. Now, before I click that link, I'm going to point out to you that inside of the digital plan room here, what we're going to see is that this package has been submitted. Once a package is submitted and it's in a status of submitted, you can no longer make any changes to that unless county staff reopen that review package for you. And so that's what this particular email is communicating to you. Hey, we have a couple things we need you to do with the files that you submitted as a part of your review package. You need to return to Citizen Access to make those changes. The comments will be displayed right here in this email, as well as when I click this link, those comments are also going to be displayed at the top of my review package. So I can review those comments. And now my review package is actually moved into a status of reopened, which means it's now open again for me to make whatever changes have been communicated to me from staff. Now, because it's reopened, that means I'm going to have to traverse through steps 1, 2, 3, 4 to get my package resubmitted back to the county. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. So those comments may indicate we're missing certain documents. Perhaps they reviewed the content of a specific document and determined that there was content missing in one of your documents. Maybe one of your documents was mislabeled. Remember, when we upload our documents, we're going to be categorizing them as the appropriate category as it relates to our particular application. And so maybe they're saying that certain things are not categorized correctly and they're asking you to fix it. And if I did need to recategorize it, before we saw that the trash can icon allows me to remove a file and maybe upload a corrected file. But in this case, I'm going to click the edit icon. And what that's going to do is that would allow me to reclassify the document as an applicable type. So I'm going to leave things as if we're just going to move forward and we're just going to talk hypotheticals as some of the things that we might need to address. Pay attention to the requirements as well, because once staff has reviewed what you've submitted, alongside of your application, they may adjust these requirements to more accurately reflect exactly what we're looking for. So pay attention. There might be new red requirements, additional yellow requirements that you need to satisfy. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. I'm not going to make any changes to my files from that perspective. Next up, you might receive comments that your sheets are rotated or they're upside down. One of the submission standards that we request of you is that plans are received in a landscape page orientation with north pointing upwards on the screen. Okay. So if they come in and they're all portrait or they're upside down, that means we're unable to review them in that orientation. So they need to be rotated. So your options to rotate is to one, fix it in the PDF that you uploaded, replace it in your package. We do have this rotation right here, this button at the corner right here available to you. So you can fix it inside of the review package if you like. So we might ask you to fix rotation of sheets. We also might ask you to fix sheet numbers. Perhaps the system didn't quite get the sheet numbers exactly right for you, but you submitted them as is. We may notice that we ask you to go ahead and correct those sheet numbers as a part of it. So there's a number of things that we might reopen the review package for. You can go ahead and fix those potentially on step 2 or step 3 of the package submittal. But ultimately, I need to make it to step 4 and hit that finish button for my corrections to officially be submitted back to the county for the team to go ahead and take a look at and ultimately accept. I'm going to go ahead and hit finish again. And I'm going to get my green success message letting me know that my package has been submitted successfully to the county. County staff will be alerted that this has come back in, and then they'll take a look at it, and perhaps they'll go back and forth with you a couple of times to get things just right. Or if you satisfied everything at this submittal point, they'll be ready to move things forward and ultimately get your plans and documents distributed for plan review. There are certain types of things where we may just need some additional information from you and we don't need to reopen the package for you to provide those things. So you might get a slightly different email. So you need to pay attention to the emails. You might get a slightly different email that still has some comments right here. But instead of opening up the portal for you to make a change or upload more documents or anything like that, we might ask you to email it to the permits email address right here. And the easiest thing to do is to go ahead and just click that link from the email. And it's going to go ahead and automatically populate the subject for you, response to additional information required, along with your application number. And that makes it much easier once you've provided the details being requested to you in the email. That makes it much easier when it comes into that permits inbox that we know exactly what information we're collecting for what particular application. Okay, so everything has been submitted. The permit processing team has reviewed and deemed everything to be complete. Your review moves forward towards plan review. So at that point, all the plan reviewers will receive notification on their end that it's ready to go ahead and review your documentation associated to your application. So they will begin that review, and there might be one reviewer, there might be multiple different reviewers representing multiple disciplines, dependent on the scope and the type of your permit application. All those different reviewers are going to be able to review your digital plans in parallel. And as each individual reviewer completes their review, if they have happened to found any issues that need resolution on your submittal, you will receive an email notification as each reviewer completes to let you know that there happens to be something that you can start taking a look at to prepare subsequent resubmittal. So let's take a look at what that email looks like. So this is going to let you know in the subject line which review, right? So this says building plan review. I might have a mechanical, electrical, plumbing, a zoning, a site, a civil, floodplain, etc. So there might be many different types of reviews that are conducted as a part of your project. And once they've completed their review for this initial cycle, you'll get this notification letting you know that they have published some comments that you can go ahead and review. So in this case, we have 3 comments that are available for review. And as with other emails, we have a link that we can click to go ahead and check out what those issues are. But there's a disclaimer right here in bold. The way this is going to work is we are going to publish comments as each review completes. If they found any issues they need you to resolve, we want to get those comments in your hand as quickly as possible. But we are not going to open up the portal in the form of a new review package until all the reviews for that given cycle have completed, at which time you'll receive another notification letting you know that the full cycle is complete and the portal has been opened back up. And at that point, you can provide all your responses to comments and resubmit any corrected documents. So in this case, just the building plan review is completed and has some comments that you can go ahead and review. So you can review those. You can start preparing your documents, but you may receive other similar emails for other reviewers, and then you'll receive that finite email when the cycle itself has completed. Similar to other notifications, there'll be a tutorial there as well. So if you need that reminder, it's been a while since you've submitted something, you can click that link and get that quick refresher. Okay, next up, I'm going to go ahead and click this issues list. And what we're going to see is I land back in the digital plan room. Now, from a navigation perspective, you might have noticed when we were uploading our initial documents that over here we were on the Uploads tab. So there's multiple tabs in the digital plan room. We have a Summary tab, Uploads tab, Issues, Conditions, Notes, and an Approved tab. And we'll hit all of these as a part of this training. Right now, we happen to be on the Issues tab, and these are the type of plan review comments that are going to require a response from us, as well as potentially a resubmittal with corrected documents that satisfy whatever the comment articulates. What you're going to notice here is that the status is in review still, meaning that there are other reviews still in progress. So if you get one of these email notifications and you click the link and you come into the digital plan room and you see some issues published here, you also notice that the status of the overall review is still in review. That means we're waiting for the final other reviews to complete prior to the cycle being completed. So that's an indication that it's not yet in a state where I can start my uploads, but I can start reviewing those comments until a point in the future that occurs. So what happens when the cycle completes? Well, when the cycle completes, we're going to get an email that looks like this. So it's going to indicate that your review has plan review revisions requested, and it's going to indicate that Public Works has completed the plan review portion and determined that revisions are needed on your plans. This time, we've got links again to take us back to that same issues list. And then you're going to also notice that we have an issues list, a conditions list, and a notes list. So I'll talk about this once we flip back over to the portal here again. We have a tutorial on responding to issues, as well as a tutorial on how to upload those revised documents. Down here in bold, we just want to bring your attention to the fact that each one of these issues all 5 of these issues listed out here as part of this plan review must have a narrative response provided before we can fully resubmit your review package. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this issues list. And when I do, I'm going to now see issues across multiple disciplines here. So we'll take a look at this list here in a moment. But we're also going to see that the status of my plan review has changed to not approved. So it's no longer in review. It's now in a not approved status. So let's take a look. I got a slide here for us to take a look at. So I just want to point out that a cycle of plan review is still in progress if the plan room is showing in review. Your overall permit application is still showing under review. When it's in either of those statuses, we are still completing reviews and we have not reopened the portal for upload. Over on the right-hand side, when the plan review is showing not approved and your overall permit application status is showing revisions requested, that's an indication that all issues have been published and we're ready for you to go ahead and upload your required documents. Let's head back over here. So issues, again, of comments where we are going to go ahead and provide a response and upload any required documents. We also have conditions and notes. All 3 of these tabs contain plan review comments, but the purpose of each of those types of comments differ. Let's take a look at another slide here very quickly. Issues are your traditional, if you think about receiving a correction notice and generating a resolution letter. Those types of comments are what we call issues in this overall process. So it's going to require a narrative response, and it may require an upload of a corrected document as a part of your resubmittal. Conditions, any comments that you find on the conditions tab are more of your conditions of approval, right? So we're going to provide these conditions and approve things. We're not going to reject. These are not the types of comments that are going to reject your plan review, but these conditions have to be met. So we are conditionally approving based on the comments that are articulated here. Now, conditions may be reviewed interactively right from the Citizen Access portal, but they also can be reviewed as a part of your approved plans and any stamped approved supporting documentation. You may find them throughout those documents in the form of markups with associated comments and annotations in the document. Or you also might see what are called general conditions inserted at the front of your approved plans. There's a third type of comment here called notes, and those notes are meant to allow plan reviewers to include informational comments as well. So we're not going to reject anything based on any of these notes, and these are not conditions of approval. These are informational comments for both you and potentially for inspectors. Now, it's now my job to go ahead and provide that narrative response. And I'm going to be doing that interactively here by clicking on each one of these issues to review. So I have access to the Citizen Access portal, and but I might have team members that do not have a log on to this portal. So I may need to extract this information out of the system to be able to go ahead and share with other team members that need to potentially generate new documents, provide the responses for me, that sort of thing. So in the upper right-hand corner over here, you're going to see a print icon and an issue reports icon. These are 2 different ways I can extract these plan review comments from the system. So let's see how each one of these works. So I can go ahead and click print. And what this is going to do is this is going to give me more of what I might be used to in the form of like a correction notice. So this report is going to outline which discipline opened up this comment, what's the current status of this comment. Issues have statuses that allow us to track those through all the way through acceptance. Over here under details, we'll see a bold title. Every issue is going to have a title and potentially a detailed description right below. Over here under attached to, this lets us know what does this comment relate to. Is it a specific plan sheet that it relates to? Is it the site plan? Is it a supporting document that it might relate to? Or if there's nothing showing here under the attached to, it may be an overall comment for the project. And that general comment may ask me to make a change on all sheets, or maybe a general question about the project, those types of things. Far on the right, it's going to let me know the reviewer that opened the particular issue, who last updated it. And then the far thing over here, it says modifications required. That's going to indicate whether we're looking for a document with the corrections to be resubmitted or not. So this one down here is indicating maybe I just need a response. I need a clarification. I have a question I need to answer. And so I'm not expecting a document with this specific issue. So I can print all my issues like that. I can generate what's called an issues report. And to generate an issues report, I click on the issue report icon, and I'm going to have this pop-up window show on my screen. From here, I'm going to see this link over here that says create report. So what happens when I click this? Actually, let's zoom in here a little bit so we can see. It says create report. What this functionality does is instead of downloading all the documents that you uploaded with associated markups related to the comments, this issues report allows us to on demand generate a marked up set of just the individual plan sheets and pages from any supporting documents that an issue was opened against, right? So it's a consolidated report of just the items that we have to review as it relates to each of the issues. So this is an on-demand report. So when you click on it, you can give it any potential name that you like. So maybe I'll just call it all issues. And then I can go ahead and hit create. And when I do that, what's going to happen here is it's letting me know that it's creating, and that was super quick, but it's building a PDF for me with just, let me go ahead and download that, with just affected items that issues were open for. So I'm going to go ahead and open this document over here in Adobe. And what we see here is a document containing 4 pages, it looks like. Now, the cover page happens to be any issues that were not attached to a specific page of a document or a specific sheet of the plan. So if there's any overall general project comments that need to be addressed, those will show up on the cover sheet. If I move forward, and let me zoom in here a little bit so we can see. It looks like this next sheet has a couple of markups, so I can either mouse over any of the markups to see the details, or if I have my comment panel open in my PDF viewer, I can navigate to a specific comment by clicking here. Actually, I see a zoning comment down here. Oh, okay, so that happens to be on my site plan right here. And it looks like I also have some markup on this page out of one of my supporting documents as well. So this is a second way I can extract all the comments out of the system if I had to share them with anybody that does not have access to this particular portal. But ultimately, I can also review all of this interactively right from my login right here. In addition to extracting things, I can also sort them by any of the column headers. So if I wanted to come in here and I click on the discipline It's going to sort it by discipline. So maybe that's helpful for me. I can also sort by whatever it's attached to. So maybe I want to look at everything on a particular sheet together across discipline. So different ways to sort as an example. And then there's also a button over here that says filter. And if I only want to review, let's say, the building, I can select the building and it'll filter out any other disciplines that I did not select. Now, if I do have a filter applied, you're going to see this message with the highlighted yellow behind it. And that message is just going to remind you that you have a filter applied. And if you wanted to remove that, you can come in here and either click the X on the right-hand side here. That'll remove anything because I can actually select multiple disciplines if I want. So if I want to select one by one, I can X out of either one of those, or I can click the X all the way on the right. Okay. Depending on the sort order or any filters that I have applied, the print right here and the issue report will reflect that. So if I just want to generate an issue report with just the building issues, I would filter it by building first and then generate my issue report. Let's see what happens when I click on the print. We'll see that it's now alphabetical by discipline. All right, so let's take a look. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up, actually. So I'm going to click on the first issue. So when I click on an issue, what's going to happen is it's going to open up what that issue is attached to. The issue details are going to open up in a panel on the left-hand side here. And if there's any associated markups, those markups are going to come in the foreground. It's kind of hard to see until we zoom in here a little bit, but any other markups on the page are going to go to the background. Now, the first thing I recommend doing as soon as you open up an issue is taking a look at this magnifying glass in the upper right-hand corner. The plan reviewer has the ability to essentially center the portion of the plans or the supporting document page that the issue pertains to when they document that issue. So this magnifying glass will zoom you in to where the plan reviewer wants to bring your attention to. Once I've done that, some additional information that's available on the panel here is I have an issue title. I can see who created the issue. I can see who the discipline is, and that discipline will have a label on it. We saw the labels on the last page, but those labels are just different background colors based on the different disciplines. So the background color that the discipline label has will match the color of the markup on the actual plans. Down here below, description is where the details of the issue will be found from the reviewer. So we actually saw this title in the list, and that's just intended to be a short description of what the issue is. But the full details, potential code section references, things like that are all going to be found in the description area down here below. Right below that, you'll see that it says this one does not require modifications to be submitted. So right below the description, it's going to communicate with you whether or not we're expecting a document for this particular issue. And then just below that is a section that's called applicants responses. If I click on that, notice there's a little edit icon here. It's going to open up a text box and allow you to go ahead and provide your narrative response as to how you address this issue. Okay, and so once I've had a chance to review the location on the plans, look at the markups, the title, the description, all of that, once I'm ready to respond, I can provide my response here and I can go ahead and hit save. Okay, and notice when I did that, that the status of my issue changed from a status of open to answered. And it's that change of status that'll leave those breadcrumbs for me to know what have I looked at and what do I still have to respond to. So I can work my way through each one of these. So I opened up another one. I'm going to go ahead and click the magnifying glass. Zooms me into these specific columns of data that I may have to respond to. Got my title. I know who the reviewer was. Here's the detailed description. This time it indicates that modifications are required to be submitted. So this issue is expecting that this supporting document will be resubmitted and replaced. I'm going to provide my response here. And I think I have everything that I need for this issue. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. 2 issues down, 3 to go.
Seth, can I interrupt for a second?
Please do. Yes.
Bill Walterscheid, I understand the moderator's having trouble with the comment feature on the YouTube. So if you could please email your questions to our code enforcement email box. That's code enforcement at stlouiscountymo.gov. I'll spell that out for you. It's CODENFORCEMENT at STLOUISCOUNTYMO.gov. So it's code enforcement at stlouiscountymo.gov. Thank you, Seth.
Appreciate that, Bill. I grabbed that email address over here as well. It's up on the screen, code enforcement at stlouiscountymo.gov. So I'll leave that up on the screen here. In case you have any questions, we'll make sure that the proper folks follow up with you. Okay, so next I'm going to try my response to this zoning comment. And I don't want to put that in there. Put my other response in here. We'll go ahead and hit save. Okay, 3 down, 2 to go. I go ahead, first thing up, zoom in, and then I can review, provide my response. And so far, the first 4 issues that we looked at were either associated to a supporting document, which were my specification file, or some of the plan sheets, which were either my sheet A102 or the site plan that I submitted as a part of that. So next up, I'm going to take a look at this last one, but notice that there's nothing in the attached to. So since it's not attached to anything, it's not going to bring up a particular sheet or page from a document. I'm going to click here, and it's going to bring up a box for me to review the issue. So everything we saw on the left-hand side issue panel is out there. So I can just provide my response right here and hit save. And once I've done that, we'll see that all my issues are now answered. And I have this blue notice up at the top of the screen here that lets me know all issues have been answered. So once all issues have been answered, I still have one more step to do. I still have to complete my resubmittal. So it's telling me I need to click on the Uploads tab to fully submit both those responses, but also upload any files that need to be included in my resubmittal. So I'm going to come back down here and I'm going to go to my uploads. And what I'm going to notice here is this, that there is a second cycle package open now. So earlier when we were submitting our initial documents, that was in package number 1. Now we're going to be working on package number 2, which is our first resubmittal. Now, how do I open up that package? Over on the far right, there's an action column, very similar to action column that you're used to pay fees, resume applications, things like that. So I can go ahead and click on the resume to open up that package that was created when that cycle completed. And from here, I'm going to follow that same 4-step process that I did previously to submit my documents alongside of all of those responses. So here I'm going to say, all right, corrected sheets and specs. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. Go ahead and click browse and go find those documents. So let's go find those documents. Grab these. There's some corrected sheets related to those comments. And I'm going to go get my corrected site plan and specs. I'm going to categorize them accurately. So you want to definitely pay attention and classify each document type correctly. The description will further help everybody involved understand what's inside of each of these files. Recall that any documents that are going to go through plan review, so any plans and its supporting documents, all have to be in a PDF file format. Okay. And then there's a note up here that indicate do not combine plans and any supporting documents. So don't combine plans and calculations into the same file. Make sure you upload that as separate documents, and then there are separate calculations document types, and that's just an example. So I'm going to go ahead and click upload and validate. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit process files. When I do that, what I'm going to see is this progress bar is going to show me the progress towards getting these files fully processed. And remember, we're just converting it into the format that the team is going to be able to do their review from. But we're also taking apart your plan files into the individual sheets, automatically identifying those sheet numbers. And then that's going to allow us to slip sheet these corrected sheets back into the full set for plan review, and then ultimately support any comparisons that we need to do as a part of this resubmittal review. Now, you can certainly wait here. Again, it typically takes about 30 seconds to complete processing. But this line on the progress bar indicates that we'll notify you once the package completes processing. So we'll get that action required email. So if you have an action required email, that's essentially telling you that you still have to come in and complete steps 3 and 4 of the overall processing. So just to reiterate some of the sheet numbering recommendations here, I'm going to bring this slide back up that we covered earlier. Again, whenever possible, include a table of contents as a part of your plan file. This will make it very simple for the system to identify those sheet numbers. If there is not a table of contents, then we do have other methods where we try to read the text off the page, things like that, but they may be slightly less accurate than if you include a table of contents. And then when you do include that table of contents, be sure to include the sheet number at the front part of the page entry and the sheet title following. The sheet title is optional, but if it is available, it will extract that from the table of contents and include it along with the sheet to provide further context for the reviewers to know what's available on each individual sheet. And then lastly, just a reminder, do not change sheet numbers as part of the resubmittal process. This will allow us to make sure that when we resubmit, the sheets, the corrected sheets get linked up correctly to the proper previous sheet version, so it's easy from a comparison tool perspective to be able to inspect the corrections and ultimately accept those corrections. Once everything is processed, I can continue from step 2 to step 3. Again, I received an email that lets me know that that part's complete. So I can either click from the email or just move forward if I waited on this page. Oh, okay. Whoops. Think what we did. But anyway, once we're done, we'll go ahead and submit. And what you're going to see is that your review package is ultimately going to go ahead and change from a status back of not approved back to in review. So once it's back in review, any applicable reviewers that open up comments will be alerted. And then ultimately they'll be able to review your resubmittal and potentially either accept each issue, or they also might find additional issues that they add based on the corrections, or if an issue is not being accepted, they might mark it as not accepted. Ultimately, you'll get a similar email as to what we saw earlier. Okay, so here is our resubmittal once file processing is complete. I jumped the gun there a little bit. So I can fix the sheet number. And what we're going to see as a part of our review package is that the far right column now displays. We didn't see this earlier. Because this happens to be a resubmittal, we have a previous version column. And as I scroll down here, we'll see that the previous version column either has a thumbnail view of the previous version of that sheet, or it says no previous version. Okay. So three of these sheets got linked up automatically, but G105 here did not. Now, this may be a new sheet that's getting inserted as a part of the resubmittal. So we would expect it to say no previous version. But if for whatever reason the system didn't identify the sheet number correctly, then I have this mess option over here where I said search sheets. If I click on that, it's going to open up a list of all the sheets that are currently in the plan set. And I can click on one and it'll link it up for me. So if I need to correct it and find the sheet that it's a new version for, I can use the magnifying glass. Or if it is a new sheet that's being inserted, I can leave it as such, and the reviewers will be alerted on their end that a new sheet has been inserted, and the proper reviews will commence on that inserted sheet. So once I've got all my sheets lined up where I need them to, I can click continue. And I'm on the fourth step now. So the fourth step looks similar to our initial submission. We've got our description we provided at step one, the files that were included and uploaded for my resubmittal, but also my responses to all those issues are going to be included with this package that's getting submitted. So I'm going to click on finish. We're going to see success. And like I was mentioning earlier, it flips our status back to in review. And at this point, it's back in the reviewer's court. They're going to take a look at your responses. They're going to take a look at the sheets that you resubmitted, any supporting documents that you might have resubmitted that will replace the previous supporting document if it happened to have issues and was rejected. So they'll review those things. So the open issues that now have answers, again, will either be marked off as accepted, meaning that everything has been addressed, and that's the end of the life cycle for that specific issue. If they find that the issue is not addressed, they will provide further comments on that existing issue. They'll mark it off as such that it was not accepted. And then when they complete their review, you'll get another email just like what we had earlier, where it might say the building plan review portion is complete. And any issues that they did not accept will flip back to a status of open. And any new issues that they may have found based on your resubmittal will also be released to you in a status of open. And it's only when those issues are in the status of open that you have the ability to respond to those issues. So those will be released to you. Once all the necessary reviews for the resubmittal review are completed, that cycle will come to an end, and then you'll get notified via email that the cycle is complete. And at that point, a new review package has been created for you. So the portal, in essence, has been opened back up for you to be able to complete your resubmittal along with the responses to the issues, and you can resubmit for a third cycle. So you'll go in that back and forth with the team and collaborate on getting those issues resolved until we get to plan approval. Okay, next, I want to just take a step back, take a pause, and we're going to take a quick tour of citizen access. Um, a lot of you are probably already used to transacting business in citizen access. So I might come in here, I might go under construction permits, I might open a new permit application by creating a permit. I might search applications. I have my list of all my applications that are available under my particular login here. Couple of things I want to point out is there's a couple different ways that you can get into the digital plan room to participate in the plan review. The first way we've seen a lot of on this call this morning, and that happens to be clicking on links from emails. So again, wherever possible, look for that link in the email. That link where we're asking you to take the next step will take you right back into the portal. If you're logged out of the portal, it may ask you to log in, and then it'll take you to where that link is headed. So that's one way we can get into the plan room. Another way happens to be under the action column, right? We've seen amendment, pay fees due, resume application. There's now a new action called upload plans. So if your application happens to be in a state where we're looking for you to upload documents, so that might be after you've submitted your application, if you haven't submitted your documents yet. It could also be while your application's in a status of revisions requested, meaning the cycle has completed and we've opened the portal back up for you to be able to upload. We've got the upload documents right here. If I click on that, that will take me right back in to the digital plan room. So that's one way I can get in there. I'm going to go back to my application list. But this time I'm going to go into, let's see here. I'm going to go into one of these that we've been working on. And when I come in here, this is your application detail. So you're probably familiar in here. I can come in and look at my record details, the workflow status. Um, there's a documents area where you can download and upload documents, inspections, all of that. But now there's also a new plan room menu just to the right of that. And the plan room menu has a menu entry for all the different tabs that we saw inside the plan room. So let's head over to the summary tab. So the summary tab is available to us inside of the plan room here. And this is going to be a high level snapshot of where we are progress wise for the overall plan review. So it's going to have a description of the scope of work. It's going to be the current status. That'll just match whatever's in the header up here. The address location where this application is associated to. Over on the right is all of the disciplines that have a potential to participate. So not every discipline on this list may participate. It depends on the scope of your specific application and the location, jurisdiction, all those types of things. But these are all the disciplines that have the potential to participate. As we move along here, it's the current status of the disciplines reviews. So this happens to be the application that we were just using, that we just completed our revision resubmittal from. And so under the status here, what we see is the three disciplines: building, accounting, zoning, and electrical. These are all in a status of revisions received, meaning that you've submitted your resubmittal, and these three disciplines have been notified that that has come in, and it is added back to their list to review. Just to the right of that, by discipline, we're tallying up a count of issues, conditions, and notes. So we see we had 2 issues for, what is that, building, 1 for county zoning, and 2 for electrical, 1 condition for building, and 0 note. So we have a total by discipline, but over here on the left, we also see we have a couple totals here as well. So we have total number of issues. So across those 3 disciplines, we have 5 issues that were opened. We have total number of issues in progress with the applicant, which is currently 0. So when issues have been published and when they're in that status of open, we'll see a tally of issues that are currently in the customer's court, and they're going to take the next steps, providing the responses, resubmittals, all of that. But once you've resubmitted your review package, then we have this tally that shows the issues in progress with the agency. So those 5 issues that we just provided a response to, this line item shows how many have been sent back for resubmittal review with the reviewers. And then as those reviewers resolve issues, so once your resubmittal satisfies each of those issues, they'll get marked off as completed and they'll show up over here. So the goal is to basically have a total number of issues down here and nothing in progress with the applicant and the agency. That's how we get to an approved status. And then the bottom 2 are how many of those conditions of approval do we have and how many notes. So this is the summary tab. Over here we have the uploads tab right here. And this is where each of our review packages are going to be listed. Then we have our issues where we spent a good bit of time. So those are all going to be the issues that we've responded to. We'll notice that all those issues are now in a status of in review. And so they'll stay in that status till each individual reviewer completes their review. And then at this point, they'll either turn green and have an accepted label, or they'll turn back to red and flip back to an open label if it's coming back to you with additional comments. Conditions will show up on the conditions tab along with notes over here. And then all the way on the right-hand side, approved tab. And that is where any stamped approved plans and documents are going to display once they become available and our permit has been issued. Lastly, I've got a record details tab, and that's going to take me right back over to the detail page for this particular application. So that's a quick tour around the existing citizen access portal where a few new links, a new menu, as well as that button that we saw when we submit an application have been added to the existing portal. Now, once all of those plan review issues have been satisfied, in other words, any issues that were open have now been moved to a status of accepted and are now showing green. At that point, your application will move back over to the permit processing team. And at that point, if there are any additional documentation requests that they need, you may potentially get an email. And so that would look like this email. So if there's any additional things, we'll see an additional documentation required for your particular permit application, and you'll have a comment coming from that team letting you know, what do we need? We need some contractor documents, we need some employer documents, we need whatever to satisfy the final permit requirements to be able to move forward and have things issued. To provide those back to that team, we're going to want to click on the email just like we did earlier. This one has a slightly different email address. This is the permit pickup email address, and we recommend clicking on the link so that your subject automatically populates and your application number also automatically populates on the subject. Then you can provide the details, attach any documents you need, and then that'll come into the permit pickup inbox. And then that will ultimately satisfy any further document requirements. It's at this point you're going to be alerted to any fees that might be paid. So that would be an email that's going to look like this. The plan review and processing is approved, complete, and ready for issuance. The permit fee is, this will be the total. If you want to get a breakdown of the individual line items for the permit, you'll be able to click this link to head back to the Citizen Access portal and pay those fees. Once those fees have been paid, you'll be able to move forward to permit issuance. And once your permit has been issued, you'll get the corresponding issuance email. And in addition to that, you'll get an email like this letting you know that your plan review has also been approved. And you'll be able to go ahead and download any of those approved documents and then review any conditions of approval or any information notes. We'll have our tutorial here on how to download those approved documents. And in addition to how to go ahead and submit any further addendums as it might relate to this approved set of plans. So I'm going to go ahead and click on download documents. That's going to take me back into the portal here. And once I'm here, we're going to see that there's two documents listed. So if I zoom in on the middle here, one's going to be of a type approved plans, and the other is going to be a type of supported documents. So all of your plans are going to be included in the approved plans packet, and any supporting documents that the county has applied a stamp to and also indicated approval, or well, reviewed for code compliance and all that, will show up and be consolidated in this approved supporting documents here. So if I download one of these, let's take a look at what happens here. I'm going to download that, open this file. And on this file, what we're going to see are any general conditions that of approval that have been applied at the project level. So any project level conditions will be inserted at the front end of your plan set, and they'll be grouped by discipline, and then you'll have your title and the details will show up here. And so depending on how many conditions there are, it'll organize them into a 3-column layout. And if there's more than one page, it'll continue on to a second, third page, however many pages it takes. And then as I scroll down here, I'll see the start of my plan set. And once I have my plan set here, we'll have the St. Louis County stamp in the upper left-hand corner. And that's going to display in each of the sheets. And it has a high degree of transparency so that, you know, we could see any drawings through that stamp without issue. So I can go ahead and download any of my approved documents and do what I need with them, print them, have them on the job site, whatever requirements I have from that perspective. And then at that point, the next phase for this permit application can commence, right? Construction commences, inspections start happening, all of that continues. Now, at any point, we need to submit an addendum. We've created a self-service mechanism to allow you to submit that addendum. And you're going to do that by uploading the files related to that addendum. So if I go back to the Uploads tab, when a permit is in a permit issued state, then we're going to be able to see on the Uploads tab something called the New Revision button. Now, what the New Revision button is going to do is it's going to allow me to automatically open up a new review package that I can upload any appropriate documentation into. Previously, we didn't have the capability as customers to be able to open up a new review package. It happened when the new application was submitted. It happened when a cycle of plan review was completed. But for our purposes here, once a permit's issued, if we do have to submit an addendum, we'll go ahead and click the new revision button. And that's going to launch a new review package. And then I'm going to follow the same process that we saw both when I initially submitted, when I completed my resubmittal. I can go and I can collect the appropriate documents. I can classify them accurately as to what they are in relation to my submittal. Further, provide a description to clarify the context of that document. And then click the upload and validate button. We'll make sure that there's no issues with the file. It'll turn green, and then we'll continue and we'll process those files. We will version those plan sheets. You'll submit the overall package, and then the team at the county will be alerted that addendum has been received, and it'll be reviewed to make sure it's appropriate for the addendum submittal process, or potentially, depending on the scope, it may require a new permit altogether, but that review will take place, and then the team will be in touch with you in terms of next steps. If the addendum is accepted, you'll go through the plan review process, no different than what we saw. Issues can be opened, responded to, resubmittals submitted, and then ultimately you'll get to an addendum approved state, at which point the system will automatically generate a new approved plan set, slip sheeting in any of those corrections, not corrections, I'm sorry, addendum inclusions, and you'll be able to download a new approved set. You'll get an email alert when that step has taken place. With that said, I know we did not have the ability to have the public comments open, so we do apologize about that. But that concludes the content for the training this morning. I want to check back in with the panelists to see if there was any questions received to that code enforcement inbox.
Just a clarification on that addendum, that was a major lift for ePermit Hub, Seth, and we really appreciate you creating that addendum after the fact. But I think our customers need to be aware, and I'm sure they are, that that's intended for small addendums within the scope of work. It's always a good idea before going through that process is to contact the appropriate plan review discipline that's involved to make sure that a separate permit's not required. So you're not doing the step twice. But that being said, the only question we got in the code enforcement was our interaction with our contracting municipalities when they contract with us for building plan review and inspection services, and how they were to get their zoning approval over to us. Uh, it really is not. There really is an approach that they can take on that because they're not tied to the particular record type, so they wouldn't be able to actually upload it directly. We would expect them to actually provide the applicant their zoning approval, whether it be a paper form or electronically. If it's paper, then the applicant would have to do the scanning and then upload it into the citizens permitting portal. So really, I don't think that part of the process changes until someday in the future when everybody's on Acela, the municipalities and the county, and we have that interaction together. Um, Other than that, there was no other question. Oh, wait a minute, I might have another one. Okay, yes, I do have another question. Um, Quite a few questions in one submission. So I'll try to answer those. We currently have a project in the site development plan submittal. Will it be ported over to Acela or not? No, our current paper process uh, will stay paper. So that's a good question. So if you are doing an addendum on your project that you currently have in house, which is all paper, we would ask for that information to be submitted in the form of 4 sets of plans. Whereas after Monday, the 13th, you're going to be submitting electronically, and then any addendums to the electronic process we would want done electronically. So we're keeping those 2 processes individualized. We can't mix one with the other. So that'll be a yes. So you would have to submit that by paper. Number 2, for that same project, when we apply for the various other permits we need, will we have to apply by a seller for each permit? So on a project, on a commercial project, we try to do all the reviews under the building permit and set it up so that your licensed mechanical, electrician, plumber, drain layer can pull their own no plan permit based on those reviews that occurred right now on paper. So each one of those disciplines, which they've been doing this for a while, would sign on to the citizens permitting portal and obtain their own no plan permit based on their review that occurred under that building permit. So it's real important that they indicate in the description of work where that review occurred, what the building permit number was. Item 3, can a landscape architect be a licensed professional to pull down on the initial project setup? I don't know if we had that. Seth, is that a question that you could answer?
Could you repeat that for me, Bill? I didn't fully catch that.
Can a landscape architect be a licensed professional in the pull down on the initial project setup?
That's more of an Extella question, Bill. I don't know how you have your licensed professionals set up there at the county. I don't know if anybody else from maybe
I can answer that.
can answer that. Mhm.
So right now, licensed professionals in that system are just those individuals licensed by St. Louis County. And then for building contractors, what we call the S code are available in there. So a landscape architect would just go in as an applicant. They wouldn't be able to pull their license in as part of the application process.
Okay, item 4, I do not see landscape plans on the document type pull down. Will it be included on the rollout Monday? I would say no. That is something that we need to reconsider for an addendum to the project. We know we're going to have some glitches, and maybe that's one. Correct? We don't have the landscape plans in the document type pull down, Richard?
Yeah, to my knowledge, we don't have them in there.
And Bill, if I
We were
can,
also looking at a residential new construction. So it may be present on other application types, where we would just have to look into that. I don't know that we have that information at our fingertips right this moment.
Bill, if I can interject for a second.
Sure.
I think that a lot of these questions, the initial question would lead me to believe that this is an applicant who's currently not applied with the Department of Public Works for any actual permits, since their first question discussed site plan review. So it may be important for us to clarify that that's the Department of Planning and is not associated with any actual permitting through the Department of Public Works. That's who we are. That's what this process is for construction permits, not for submission to planning.
Thank you very much. And that's a very good point. That the planning and health that's going to be our next, to me, the next thing that we want to get on. I'm sorry. Get onto the digital plan room, and also in the into our Acela. So if you are submitting through the site development plan process, that process will continue as until we can get the planning on board with Acela and the digital plan room. And that would include your floodplain study, things like that that may come up during that site development plan review process. What is additional news sheets need to be added? So the system does allow for additional news sheets to be added to on a resubmission. So I'm not quite sure if I understand, but we can accept additional news sheets on a resubmission. 6, what if new sheets are added and it causes sheet numbers to change? Well, that was kind of brought up. You definitely don't want to change the sheet numbers from your original submission to a resubmission because we lose some formatting. So you definitely would want to include it as a new sheet and not switch not switch your sheet numbers around. How do we sign up to access the system? There is on our electronic plan review page at on the Transportation and Public Works page of St. Louis County mo.gov. There are a number of tutorials that have been created, some videos that show you how to sign up and get a password on the Citizens Permitting Portal. Please provide a link to get into the digital plan room. Well, that digital plan room is actually accessible through the Citizens Permitting Portal. So not only would you'd have to sign up, get your password, and then you would once you're able to once you complete a permit application, it gives you that link to enter the digital plan room. Number 9, if we have tech issues with aspects of this, who do we contact? Me. I'm not the biggest tech guy around, but I can sure get you in the right place. And my email address is well, actually, you could contact me through that code enforcement at stlouiscountymo.gov. That was given out halfway through the meeting. I monitor that email address. And that ends that list of questions. And let me check the refresh here and check again to see if there's any more questions.
I'll insert a clarification if I can at this point, Bill.
Yes.
For just to make it clear to the people watching, for a project that's submitted electronically, the uploads that are made are your official submittal acting as the agent of the property owner, and all the documentation must be submitted through the portal. The county can't physically accept paper or emailed documents or thumb drives or any other way of you providing those documents to us. You know, to get into the portal, you as the applicant, you're the one who is authorized and has the access to be adding documents to the set. We don't. So, you know, for a project that's submitted electronically, that's, you know, through the portal, that's how all your documentation needs to go, through the portal. So we can't just have a thumb drive mailed to us.
Hi, Brad. This is Kathy with St. Louis County Department of Public Works. Please give me the call.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay. I guess I could also clarify something that Seth hit on. As far as the county has always tried to be very flexible about accepting partial initial submittals to start the review process, and we've worked very hard to maintain that flexibility here. So the number of required documents to start the review is very low, much lower than what you would need typically to obtain the permit. But the portal is only open to the applicant when the review cycle's complete. So it's important that you're gathering all your information. So when the portal is open again, you can provide it all at once. But but it can't be trickled in the middle of review cycles while reviewers are already actively engaged in looking at the documents we already have. We can't have those documents replaced midstream.
And that's a good comment, Chris, because in the past we did have a lot of piecemeal type submissions where you would start the process and then bring in additional paper, trying to get it all in before the first review. That's This software won't allow that to occur. So once it's submitted and accepted for review, like Chris just mentioned, the portal closes down and doesn't reopen until all the reviews have occurred, and then the portal reopens. So we did some looking at that and decided that that's the process. Well, I mean, that's what had to go with. That's what the software said we had to do. But we feel that a more complete submission up front will lessen the number of resubmissions, and overall that would be a quicker permit for our customers. Just checking, no more questions in the code enforcement box. Is there any other thing that the panelists would like to bring up?
Nothing from me, Bill.
Just again, that this is for transportation and public works, not for any other department at the county that you're submitting to. You should contact those departments for any questions about the submission procedures to those departments.
Well, Seth, I really appreciate your time in this presentation, Dad. It was well put together, and again, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Appreciate that, Bill.
And with that, I think we'll conclude the webinar. Appreciate everybody attending. There will be another webinar scheduled. I believe it's for March 15th at the same time. And I think the idea here is that we're going to take the best webinar, and I don't know how we could get any better than what Seth just provided, but we're going to take the best one and actually eventually put that on our website so that you could view it at your leisure. You don't have to attend the live event, but there will be another one on March 15th at 10 a.m. So I appreciate everybody's time today, and have a good weekend.